Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast. Everybody, we're going into the summer. I'm Steve Capo. I'm your host. Welcome, George. Great to see Georgie again. I want to do something topical for this week because Wimbledon's coming up. Wimbledon's next week. Actually, the qualifying's already started. Wimbledon is the biggest tournament in the world, grass court tournament, which is kind of odd. I'm going to go through it because rarely any tournaments are played on grass. So I was going to kind of do a review of this Wimbledon, kind of likes, dislikes, all those things. It's very hard to get an idea of who's going to win this tournament because you don't really have much of a quantitative sample because a lot of people don't play on grass for many tournaments. You can't look at someone's grass court record and say, oh, they've had a great grass court season. You're only going to look at, one tournament, two tournaments, maybe 5-10 matches to see who's playing the best on grass. It's really hard to tell. So going through it, I was thinking about it. If you're going to look at it just qualitatively, you look at the best tune-up players who's played the best tournaments over the last week. Tommy Paul won Queen's Club. And we'll have a little tidbit on that. He took a picture. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, George. He took a picture with very rare. You win a tournament. You win the tournament. You take a picture. They do an interview, and your family's in the stands, and you thank them. He had his girlfriend come over and take pictures with the trophy with him on the court. Like she won the tournament. It was... Well, I guess I'll talk about it now. It was very strange. It's so funny. I should know this influencer's name. Maybe you know her, George. It's Paige Lorenz, this girl. I don't know.
It just makes me think of the Salt Bay. The Salt Bay thing the soccer.
Oh, okay.
Salt Bay, the guy.
Okay, yeah.
He went up on the field and was trying to take pictures with the team. No one really knew him.
Yeah.
And he was grabbing it after the team won.
Makes no sense. Yeah, and and then I went back on his social media because I was going to read the comments. They were just trashing him, saying, it was cringeworthy, it's this, it's that. Why are you bringing your girlfriend up here when you win the tournament? It belittles the whole thing. She's obviously got her hands all over him, but she's obviously doing it for promotion. It doesn't look like she's even interested. Obviously they're supposed to be in love, George, but very tacky to do. But to me personally, just thank her and take the pictures and do your interview. You don't have to bring her on the court. But anyway, so he's playing really well. He won Queen's Club, which is a tune-up for Wimbledon. Halle, which is a tournament in Germany that Federer ended up, on a side note, started playing a ton and had to deal with them and became a very popular tournament. We're the winners of that. Let me see. Let me make sure I got it all here. Tommy Paul won Queens. Draper won Stuttgart, and Sinner won Halle. So Sinner's number one player in the world. He's playing the best out of anybody this year. He's probably only lost 2 or 3 matches. So you would have to think that he's probably the favorite, even though he hasn't played on grass too much. Draper beat Alcaraz, who was playing in Queens, who's the number 1 seed there. So Draper won Stuttgart. He beat Alcaraz in the round of 16, round of 16 in Queens. So you got to figure those 3 or 4 people and Alcaraz have got the biggest shot because they're playing the best, right? Djokovic was kind of injured, and I just heard from a colleague of mine. Djokovic hurt his knee at the French Open. Very similar to Federer, had to have meniscus surgery, things like that. And now word is out that he never had it, and he's trying to just... the word on Djokovic is he's very insecure about Nadal and Federer, and he needs to feel like is important than them, and that he really didn't have knee surgery, and he's got this brace on because he wants to feel like, oh, Federer had knee surgery, I'll have it too, and blah, blah, blah. A very strange thing to be that, and we can go, this will go on different tangents, to be that insecure and be that successful. The guy's won more slams than anybody. He's won 24. He's going to probably be the greatest stat person ever, and he still feels slighted. It just happens to be that seems like Federer and Nadal are nicer guys, and they just like them. But as I digress on my Wimbledon preview, so Djokovic is going to probably play. So if he plays, he said he'd only play if he's got a shot to win. So we'll see what happens. We're in the qualifying right now, and next week starts the tournament. He could pull out at any time. But so that's really kind of the idea. So a couple of little tidbits here. Wimbledon is the only tournament that doesn't go by rankings. So you go through the year. If you're top 10 in the world, if you're 8 or 9 or 7 or 6, you're probably going to be the 7 or 6 seed. They don't go by rankings. They go by what they think a grass court player is. So years ago when Boris Becker played and was in the finals, 6 or 7 times, he would be like a 2 or a 1 seed sometimes, and he wasn't even top ranked. He'd say he was 7 or 8. They would do that because they felt like he's got the best shot at winning. I kind of like that too, that they're really not taking a person's from their ranking for the year. This is a grass court tournament. It's very different. You're going to have to do a lot of different things. Slicing coming in, serve and volley. The history of Wimbledon's interesting because they've changed the grass. It used to be that it was a serve and volley tournament. That means you serve, you come in. There's no rallying going on because the ball stays really low on grass. It skids. You're either going to slice, you're going to serve and volley and come in. They found that I don't know. Must have been the politics of the They found that the rallies weren't going long enough. They were quite boring. These players were hitting so hard that the rallies were done in 1 and 2 shots, and it was kind of a boring match. So they changed the surface so it bounced higher, and it changed everything. That's why Agassi won Wimbledon, and players that are normal ground strokers had a shot at winning this thing. So that's another thing. So another thing simple, Casper Ruud is a top 10 player. I think he's 8 in the world. He's been to the French Open final twice. He's been to the U.S. Open final. He's 8 in the world, and he's a 30 seed. So they buried him all the way down in the 30 seed. Now that can piss you off as a top 10 player because then you got to play a pretty decent player when you're the 30 seed. But I kind of respect what they're saying. They're doing it based on how well you play on that surface, which is kind of interesting. The other thing was Milos Raonic, has played in this tournament and has gotten very far. I think he got to the finals, yep. And they didn't even give him a wild card. They said no to him. So they have that ability to do what they want. Like when they canceled for COVID, they just canceled the tournament. They're not even going to deal with it. They own the tournament themselves. It's a private club. They can do whatever they want. And then on the side note, they had great insurance. The whole thing was insured. So that's not a bad gig. So really, I think going over this Wimbledon preview, then we'll cover up a couple of topics about London itself and Great Britain itself. You're going to have to go with really the defending champ at this point. I think Alcaraz is a better grass court player than Sinner. I think he just beat him in the French Open. Does it make much of a difference? Probably mentally. And the X factor is Djokovic. If he's healthy, he's going to be tough, but he's fallen off a cliff this year. So I said Alcaraz is probably my top pick to defend this thing. And then on the women's side, you got to go with Swiatek. She's been too good. She's just too good a player all around. You figure she's got a distinct advantage in winning this tournament. But a couple of other topics that are topical this week is, if you notice, Queen's Club was probably the number one tune-up before London. It's like 40 miles away. I mean, it's like 40 minutes away from Wimbledon, and you play in London. You're there for the whole month, and you get time to play. You get used to the environment, all these things. But you've noticed this year, Halle in Germany, most of the top players played there. And this is from an interview that Andy Roddick did on his show with Max Eisenbud. Max Eisenbud was an agent, and actually is from New Jersey. I actually played him in a tournament one time. It was so funny in center court, right down the road. But the problem with England, as opposed to other countries, is, George, you'll be fascinated by this. When you play a tournament there, you pay the taxes on your winnings. But if you're there for 14 days, 2 weeks, you don't only pay the taxes on your winnings. If you have a contract with Babolat, they want 14 days of that contract. It's insane. So if you have a contract, Nadal has a $100 million contract with Babolat. He wears all their clothes. They give him $100 million. He sponsors them. They go, all right, those 14 days you're in here, we get a cut of that contract because you're playing in our country. It's insane, George. So a lot of players are like, I go to London or I go to England and I lose money. Nadal has a watch contract that he has to give a cut to Great Britain when he plays in that country. He said last, I think it was 2011, he goes, I play here and I lose money. So players are losing money coming to the country, and this is where things are just so backward ass. I can't believe it. Don't you want the best people here? Don't you want the biggest crowds here with the best players? All that money is going to come into the country, but somehow you're going to tax them? I mean, this is a great quote. So it's from Max. When you got to the finals of Wimbledon, you spent X amount of days in the UK getting ready for it. Let's see the rest of the quote. Let's see. He goes, and these days, the HM revenue and customs will proportion off from your Lacoste deal how much money you made from Lacoste based on how many days you're in the UK. So customs is going to take that money from you. They will get their little sliver of portion off of that. So your tax people need to be on top of it. It's insane. According to the government, a share, quote, a share of an endorsement or sponsorship income is chargeable to UK tax, with that amount based on how much time you spend performing and trading in the country. Naturally included compensation days, but media days, practice days, recovery days, as well as gym days, or even sponsored promo days. They may not, let's see, and they were saying in this article, it's not much of a problem for a top player that's below 100 because they don't have any big deals. They get some free rackets and stuff, but the top 50, these guys that have deals with like Gucci, Rolex, LVMH, all these players, it starts to add up to a lot. Where's Nadal's quote? He's like, they take from sponsors from Babolat, from Nike, and from my watches. He explained in 2011, this is very difficult. I am playing in the UK and losing money. So they've got to figure something out. I mean, imagine, George, you go to another country, you have a deal with something in the US, and because you spent 10 days there, you got to write them a check for that deal you have. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. So I thought I'd mention that because it's Wimbledon time, and I don't like government, George. Drives me nuts. And the last update is Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios, obviously, everybody knows him, very controversial. 2022 got to the Wimbledon final, pretty successful. Had knee surgery, 23, was out, and then all of a sudden had a terrible wrist problem, and he went to this doctor and got it fixed, and now he's going through rehab and doing all this hard work and spending hours training and getting ready and blah, 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 and all this stuff. My only point about this is, if you know Nick Kyrgios, he was the guy, and I had a pleasure to interview him twice, and, it wasn't the greatest, but he was the guy that had the basketball sneakers and walked on the court and was, like, disinterested and was like, no one understands me, and, like, I really want to be a basketball player vibe, and, like, this is all bullshit, and, like, shitting on everybody. I know the players liked him, but he just had this attitude. It looked like he didn't want to be out there. But now the fact that he's injured, if you don't want to be out there, why go through all this pain of the rehab and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah? And he's doing commentary and all these things. I don't understand it. It seemed like Nick Kyrgios didn't like the media, didn't want to do anything, was always in arguments. And now that he's kind of out of the limelight, everybody wants to get back in. It's really kind of this... It's all a game to me. It's all a charade. He really wants all the attention. The fact when no one gives him it, let's go back into it and let's get some attention. It just doesn't seem... It doesn't seem like it's genuine. It seemed like it, he's had some personal problems. I get it and all those things. But if you really don't like the game, then don't play it. It just seems like... It seems like you don't like something when you have it. And then when you don't have it, you obviously realize, oh my God, what have I been missing, right? So those are the three topics I want to talk about this week. A little bashing here and there, but I just don't understand it. I had an opportunity to talk to Nick Kyrgios twice, and I didn't find him very warm, to say the least. He seemed disinterested. He was doing speaking of a sponsorships thing, he had to do a sponsorship thing for Yonex, and he didn't seem like he wanted to be there. They're paying for these things for you. It seems like you should be interested in somebody paying you to be in an event to do something. That's part of your contract, but I don't know. Call me crazy, George. A great quote which says, replace expectation with appreciation, you'll be happy. It just seems like we got to appreciate some more things. Oh, my God, appreciating, it's a slog. I mean, professional tennis is not easy. And that was my last topic was if you saw the Federer documentary, you should see it, George. I saw it at the Tribeca Film Festival. It's called Federer 12 Days. It's fantastic. It's on Amazon now. It is so good. I cried like a baby, my friend. I'm sitting there in this movie theater, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to cry in here. I was like, what is going on? I'm a man, George. I'm supposed to be a man. But I was crying multiple times. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to go again. I said, I just better not start weeping. I better not make any noises. The wife will kill me. She'll be like, geez. But it is very emotional. It's amazing. He's such a classy guy. It seems like a real, genuine relationship. Him and his wife, they care. They're just regular people who happen to be super successful. But I tell you, it is an incredible thing to watch. What they go through, what players go through. I'll give you a little tidbit. He had surgery 2016, Federer, on his knee. He hurt his knee pop giving the kids a bath. Did the surgery. Unbelievable success. Ended up having a second career, won 3 more slams, and was basically number 1 in the world. And then he needed surgery on the other knee, and he said, okay. After 9 months, the rehab was going well. Then all of a sudden, swelling on the knee, he just could not get it out. Had to have another surgery, and he couldn't get back. So then he retired. So it's amazing how dicey it is. And, he said, once I started to have surgery, I thought it would be the beginning of the end. And he was right. Surgeries are tough on the body. Once you start opening up the body, it gets really hard. So, but you got to watch it. Even if you're not a tennis fan, it's just a great emotional thing to watch. But that's what I wanted to cover today. I think hopefully we got some juicy topics in there, Georgie. And everybody, welcome. Thanks for listening. And remember, the answers and the actions. Have a great day. Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.